regular scheduled meeting for Friday, December the 5th. And I'm going to call this meeting to order at exactly 10 a.m. And we are on time. We have one commissioner that's absent today, so we'll be working with 4 commissioners. And I will make note of that. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? I'm looking for a second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I wish to make a motion to approve the agenda.
No, we've got a motion to approve it.
With the deletion, well, let me amend the
Okay, you're
motion.
amending,
We
okay.
haven't got a second.
Second.
Okay, and now you can go ahead. We have a motion and a second. You can go ahead with what you were saying.
I would like to amend the motion by approve the agenda with the deletion of number 11.
Let's see if we can find number 11. Okay, we have want to approve the agenda with dropping number 11, which is authorization to schedule a public hearing on proposed changes to the Putnam County Code of Ordinance. Is there a second to that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think there are too many things that are being changed in that ordinance that I don't believe the public nor the commissioners have had time to fully appreciate what is being changed, and if we have an approval of these changes, what the consequences will be.
Other discussion?
I would tend to agree. I think it's worth a discussion, and I don't object to necessarily doing it in this meeting, but I do agree there's a lot of detail, a lot of nuances. There's no context, there's no framing on the agenda as to the underlying rationale, and I think it would behoove us to think it through. Again, I don't mind thinking it through in the meeting, but there's a lot to think through. It may be a little premature. It may take a lot of time in the meeting, ironically, since that's the spirit of the proposals. And we might be better off talking about it ahead of time and coming back with something a little sharper or more divided up so we can separate distinct issues rather than one big package.
Other discussion? Commissioner McElhaney, you have anything?
I don't necessarily, we're not acting on anything. We're just simply putting it forward to talk about. So there are things in there that probably do need to be changed. I know there's some controversial stuff in there, but that could also be changed as well. So I don't see a reason to delay it. That's the whole purpose, is to talk about it and figure out what we want or what we don't want. So I don't necessarily see a reason to delay it.
Other comments?
Well, Mr. Chairman, in my view, there are so many different things that are being changed in there that it will take time for us to go through all of them, and I would much prefer to do that at a more leisurely pace than to cram it into a meeting that's going to go about 4 hours.
Other comments? If not, we will vote verbally on this. It is to amend the agenda, and that is to drop item number 11 for today and bring it back at a later date, and no time has been specified.
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest that instead the motion as it stands to postpone it to our meeting in January.
Which is we're not having the first, so it's the second normal.
There's only one meeting in January.
Right.
And that should give us plenty of time to go through all the changes that are proposed in this.
Okay, will you agree to that? Alter your second? Okay.
Yeah,
So
I-
to postpone it until, and this is a postponement.
Yeah, that works for me.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the question and we will vote verbally. Commissioner at District 3, we'll start with you.
Aye.
Commissioner District 2,
Aye.
Commissioner 1.
Aye.
So the motion carries, and so we will delay that. And now we go back to the original motion, and I believe we have to vote on that. And that is to approve the agenda with dropping item number 11 until really the first only meeting in January.
Postponing item number 11 to the meeting in January.
That's the way I said. You can, any discussion on that? If none, vote electronically, I believe. Commissioners 1, 2, and 3 vote aye. So the motion, the agenda is approved with the withdrawal or the postponement of item number 11 until the first meeting in January. Moving right along with our invocation, and we're happy to have Pastor David Wolford from the Eatonton First Methodist Church once again, and welcome it once again, and please deliver our devotion.
Yeah, let's pray. Gracious God, we come to you on this rainy day in Putnam County, and we thank you for the rains that come from the skies this day. It's the season of Advent, and we know that in this season, as we watch and wait for the coming of you, Lord, we ask that your hope, peace, joy, and love would be abundant in us during this season. So be with our commissioners and be with our county as we do your business and as we do the business of this place. It's in your name we pray together. Amen.
Thank you, and amen. If you would all stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And this is our regular business meeting. It's time for public comments. Lynn, could you bring me the sheet of who signed in to speak? This morning we have 3 folks signed in. And if you all just give me a chance to put my glasses on. The cataract surgery works, but it messes your short vision up. So the first person today is George Kelichak. George, I know you're here, and I believe you brought us a little attachment.
Yes, sir, I did. George Kelichak, an elected official in Rockdale County with the Georgia Soil Water Conservation District. What I bring to you this morning is every day we're faced with decisions. And I provided you training that I did with American Honda Motor Company over my 40-year career in Kepner Trigo or KT training. And what it does, it provides you a system which is now online, okay? You don't have to have a facilitator. But it will provide you a system where you can go through a situational appraisal or a problem analysis or a decision analysis or a potential problem analysis. And what this does is it gives you the opportunity to go through a step-by-step process before you make, whether it be a $20 decision or a multi-million-dollar decision for yourself and or for the citizens of Putnam County. By utilizing this system, you're able to make more efficient and effective decisions, which will then provide you a way to look at an item before it becomes a catastrophe. And it only can take you sometime a few minutes, or it could take an hour, depending upon the severity of the decision that you have to make. So I just wanted to provide this to you and let you know that American Honda Motor Company and my staff, we used it, whether it was what type of car to build, what if we did X or what if we did X. And that way you're going to deal from a process of positivity and not negativity regarding your citizens and yourselves. So just wanted to provide that this morning. And, making a more effective and efficient approach to your decisions will provide you less time wasted and more value time added to your work. So as my dad always said, if you surround yourself with better training and people that are smarter than you, you're going to spend less time and less money making efficient decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll mention that this is similar to the training that I was given at DuPont. And I think they call theirs a different name, but the same thing. So I certainly appreciate this. Thank you, George. Next on the agenda, or not on the agenda, but next to speak under public comments, Bill Vargo. Bill?
I really don't like to speak about these two issues, but I think the public needs to know some of this. First off, starting the property tax bills that we've gotten. We were ready to pay our property tax bill, and I found that after going to qpublic.net that there were several buildings added to my property that do not exist. My dog house has continued to be taxed as a storage building for just under $2,000. And I confronted our tax assessor and sent him an email. I sent the same thing to you guys. His reply was there was a computer glitch. I said, well, yeah, probably with the operator that put those numbers in there in the first place. But I went over that. I looked back on it, and he changed things. He took the buildings off. He lowered the values on some of the buildings I had and actually lowered the value on my dock. However, he took and added $17,000 to my house value. You believe that? What's going on here? Why is he trying to be devious, or is he that incompetent? I don't understand, but I will be speaking to the Board of Equalization here on this soon. I haven't had a chance to speak with them. And another issue is our planning and zoning department overstepping their boundaries. I had a permit from Georgia Power, not the county, wasn't required to the county, to do some dredging on lakefront. I stayed within the 25-foot buffer zone of land disturbance that is allowed by Georgia Power. Yet, our director and one of her other code enforcement officers came out there and tried to oversee and override what I was told by Georgia Power. Okay, immediately I was told to put up a turbidity fence. Hour later, I got a turbidity fence up. I put it up the exact way they told me to put it up. It flooded, it blocked the water flow from Cattail Branch, and it flooded the work area I was working in. They have no training in that sort of aspect of dredging and so forth. That turbidity curtain I was required to put up was the wrong one, but I did it anyhow because I was told to. So I think they need to stay in their boundaries, as this was a Georgia Power issue between me and Georgia Power. Georgia Power had been to my site twice. I went over my plan. I went over everything we were going to do. He was good with it. And now they come out there and try to tell me what to do when it wasn't something Georgia Power told me to do. So I just think that they need to stay in their boundary. And I think I've been harassed approximately 16 times now in a year just from them need to stop.
Thanks, Bill. Next is Barb Vargo. Barb?
Okay. I'm trying to keep my cool because we were ganged on. They told us they would be out at our place at Wednesday at noon. We were there. So was the guy with his little machine that he was taking aerial pictures for us. They never showed up. They waited until Friday without giving us any notice and just popped in and totally ganged up on us. I was so mad because I know the planning and zoning, I could tell by her features and everything, there was no way you were going to explain to her what was going on. Now, I have been told in my lifetime, and because I don't have a college education, that I'm not qualified for the job I'm doing. My thought is, with a college education, you also have to have common sense. And there was none. It was just straightforward. She was going to argue and get her way, and that was mismanagement. Totally. She was in the wrong. We had our permit from the county, and if they got a complaint, they weren't to go to them. They should have done just what everybody else had done. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not our jurisdiction. Take your complaint to Georgia Power. But she didn't. She came in there and tried to micromanage the whole thing. I was so mad, I walked away. Thank God my husband was able to handle it because I am still shaking and so mad. And I'm not giving you the words I gave them. I went back to my bulldozer and started digging. So just to tell you, I am not happy with any of this. This is just plain simple harassment. And I will stop it.
Thanks, Barb. That will conclude the folks that have signed in for public comments. And we will move along next to item number 6. That is the consent agenda. Today, the consent agenda includes approval of minutes from November 18th, 2025, the work session, and approval of minutes November 18th, 2025, the regular meeting. If there's no objections, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. The motion is to approve the consent agenda consisting of approval of minutes from November 18th, 2025 work session and approval of minutes November 18th, 2025 regular meeting. Vote electronically, please. Voting is complete. Districts 1, 2, and 3 vote aye. The consent agenda is approved. Moving now to item number 7, discussion and possible action on increasing defined contribution limits. Proceeding, the presentation will be Greg Grease, and you're here, Greg. So if you want to come and explain, and I believe we have a document.
Mr. Chairman, I had asked Greg to attend this meeting just for the purpose of explaining to you what we're seeing out in the workplace. Currently, with the defined benefit pension being shut down 10 or so more years ago now, we've gone to a defined contribution system. And over the past couple of years, we have seen the employees in that 0 to 5 year vesting period forfeit significant money back to the county. In 2024, they forfeited roughly $15,000. In 2025, almost $38,000. So our younger employees are leaving us, and we're trying to slow that down. So with that being said, Greg has prepared something for y'all that shows you what our neighbors are currently doing. With that,
Thank you, Paul. Mr. Chairman, I would like to add that there is a math error, I apologize, on the Morgan County calculation. The third number from the bottom should be 21%, the total income replacement 59%, and the total cost to the employee should be 7%. Again, I'm not going to say you all have a bad plan because I helped design that plan. What I will tell you all is in order to be competitive with regards to recruiting, especially in the public safety sector, you must keep up with your neighbors. Baldwin County, neighboring county, has also closed their pension around the same time Putnam County did, went to a defined contribution plan, but provide that one additional % match that Putnam County does not. So that here in Putnam County, if the employee contributes 7%, they are required to contribute 4 automatically. They receive 4 automatically from the county, and if they're willing to do an additional 3, they get an additional 3. That's 14% of their pay out of their put away towards retirement for 7 out of their pocket. Very generous. But in Baldwin County, they're required to do 4. They get 4, but if they do an additional 4, they get an additional 4. So they can get 16% of their pay put away for 8 out of their pocket, putting them at an income replacement at 56% compared to Putnam County at 49%. And again, that's based upon a 30-year work history, okay? If I'm employed at that jurisdiction for 30 years or longer. Greene County just is Greene County and has a very strong plan. Not only do they have a pension component to them, they also then offer a dollar-for-dollar match up to an additional 7%. So that a 30-year employee with Greene County who takes advantage of everything they offer will walk away with about 87% income replacement. Morgan County within the last 2 years did an enhancement to their plan. They had a DC component and was decided to go back to the DB component, but also kept an additional match. We call that, like Greene County, a hybrid plan where the employee gets both the DB and a DC component to it. I'm not suggesting that you all go to a DB. People say all the time, is DB better than DC? No. Doesn't mean DC is better than DB. It's whether you like to eat an apple or an orange. A well-designed DB plan is going to outpace a poorly designed DC plan. A well-designed DC plan will outpace a poorly designed DB plan. So my only suggestion is to make sure that your DC plan, your current plan, provides the option for those employees who want to take advantage. And you've got one of the strongest HR people I've ever worked with in my 28-year career, does an amazing job getting your employees to participate in your plan. We are north of 80% of employees taking advantage of putting some money in out of their check voluntarily. Statewide, that is 65%. Okay? And again, when you talk about the additional percent that you will be offering, understand, I'm very good at my job. I've been doing this for 20 years, 28 years. I can't get every employee to do the max. Okay? So when you look at the cost to the county, it will not be 1% of the covered payroll because you have some employees that aren't currently taking advantage of the 7% now, the full match. But for those employees who want that additional money, that will be there for them. And it will make you more competitive in the recruiting when you can say, look, our retirement benefits are just as good or comparable to Baldwin County. You're probably your biggest competitor when it comes to folks. Again, I'm happy to address any questions.
Gentlemen, questions? Commissioner Hersey?
Greg, let me make sure I understand. All you're saying is the employer match is going to go, you're proposing goes from 3% to 4%?
That's correct, sir.
And that is going to change the income replacement or whatever total cost, but you haven't provided those hypothetical numbers yet.
So Paul should have those because again, those are county numbers as far as covered payroll and what that 1% would be if every employee took advantage of it.
Other questions? Commissioner Garrett?
So, Greg, if the premise of this is that we're losing younger employees, and it sounds like there's some evidence that this is a factor, rather than, I'm just raising this as a thought experiment, but rather than simply match, would we be better off going a little higher than that? I mean, is there strategic advantage? You know, are we, yes, we're spending more in the short term, but do we benefit in the longer term because we get better retention, better quality staff?
Yeah, I again, it is one of those things is, you know, could you go over and above that? Yes, absolutely. I explain to counties when I talk to commissioners all the time, look, there's a finite amount of money the county has, and we look at it as a pie, okay? And inside that pie, as an employee, you're looking at three sectors: retirement, health benefits, and salary. Now, to the 25-year-old employee, he's looking at who's going to pay me the most, okay? The 30-year-old employee with 2 kids, he's looking at who provides me the best health insurance at the lowest cost. The 40-year-old employee is looking at what? Retirement. You know, who's going to provide me the best benefits? Now, but in this point where public safety is such a competitive market, you know, counties I'm going to that do orientation, the bulk of those employees are what? Public safety. And I see every single week, because I'm out into counties every single week, where employees are jumping from job to job, either for $1 more an hour or $2 more an hour, or 3, because they're willing to give me a little bit better retirement benefits. Do we have plans out there where they'll match to 10%? Absolutely. Washington County moved to that a year and a half ago. So it's not unheard of. So instead of keeping up, if you want to step ahead, again, it's understand, I'm salaried employee of ACCG. What you all do, what you all don't do, does not affect my paycheck whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Paul just wanted me to share with you what's going on out in the marketplace.
And related question. And I hear you when you say defined benefit versus defined contribution. All depends on the details.
That's right.
But just looking at this comparison with local counties, I'm surprised, struck by the fact that 4 of them still have active defined benefit schemes. And I assume that's not because they're somehow super affordable, it's because they're compelling to employees.
Yes.
And help with retention and recruitment. Yes. And so on. And again, we'll have to, at some point, have to get into the specific numbers here. But I assume our rationale for closing it was we thought we could, through defined contribution, be competitive, but ultimately be much more cost efficient. And would you say the other, you know, we're in the minority taking that view.
Right. In this area.
In this area. Yeah. Sure, in this area. But I think people are generally jumping, you know, a lot of people are jumping locally, not to random places in other parts of the state. So if you can, how would you articulate the rationale for those other 4 counties to hang on to defined benefit?
Well, again, some have never gone away from it. Morgan has recently. They went away from it for a number of years.
Well, they came back.
Yes, and they came back to defined benefit. Yes, they were shut down for a number of years. And they were dealing with really hard recruiting problems, not so much against you all, but against Walton County. Now, Walton County just went away from defined benefit. Their board said, look, we're out of the defined benefit business. And again, in my long career, when I first got into this industry in 98, everything was shifting to DC. Markets making 20%, people didn't want a pension, they wanted to invest their money and become millionaires. After 2000, NASDAQ crash, people no, I want my guaranteed check. So it's an ebb and flow. Again, ideally, a hybrid plan where you get a small DB benefit and a match plan is ideal. But again, with the DB, you then take that ownership, that responsibility. That, again, if the market doesn't perform, it's going to be up to the county to cover the difference. Okay. Whereas with the DC, once you give the employee the money, they have the control. And I always explain to people, look, one's not better than the other. With a DB, the employee has no responsibility, but they has a lot less control. They don't get to decide when they get to retire. They have to follow the rules, just like Social Security. We can't tell Social Security, hey, I'm 55, I want to retire because my house is paid for. No, you have to wait. With a DC, the employee has all the responsibilities. Am I funding it enough? Are my investments correct? Those types of things. But they also have all the control. So that if they get to that point, and God forbid they have terminal cancer, they can do whatever they want with that money in a shorter period of time. So again, I'm never going to say one's better than the other. They're different. But again, a well-designed DC plan, if employees are educated, which we do a fantastic job here, in my opinion, about educating your employees, the importance of saving money, it can compete with the DB.
I have a question,
Yes, sir.
and that concerns, I look at Greene County, and their total income replacement right now is 87%. Would ours go to 87% if we move this 1%?
No, you would move to the 56% that Baldwin's currently at.
Okay.
Yep. Now, again, we go to a 10%, then obviously you can see with every additional percent or 2%, the numbers are for every additional percent, it's about a 3.5% income replacement. Again, assuming a 7% market return over a 30-year period of time. Okay. So again, if we go up 2%, we're talking an additional 7%. If we go to a 10 and 10, now you're going up an additional 14%. Well, that's going to push you north of, 53, 54%. Again, for those employees that take full advantage. And you've got a good number of them. Nobody's going to ever have 100%.
What was our percent, 80?
You're 80% participating, but those participating aren't all doing
100%.
The 3%. They may be doing 1, they may be doing 2. But we have 80% of employees here at least willing to do over what they're required, which is 4. And again, compare that to the private sector. Private sector says, look, if you don't do anything, we're not going to give you anything. If you're willing to do 6, the typical match is 3, and they're done. So 6 gets you 3 in the private sector. Here, 6 gets you 12, but 7 gets you 14, and ideally, 8 gets you 16.
Okay. I would ask Paul, what would our proposal be, or what kind of motion were we looking at? What's your recommendation, I guess, would be the way.
I would like to go up the 1 more percent. I think that's a good interim step. Excuse me. This year. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
We all have this, thank you for the halls.
We go up to 4. We receive $37,917 back year to date in folks that have left our employment. Excuse me.
So what Paul's, and again, what he's talking about is, so again, what happens when an employee leaves before they're vested? Those funds are then returned to the county. Now, you all operate on what's called a 5-year step vesting. If you leave prior to 3, every dollar is coming back to the county. If it's before 3 or after 3, before 5, then they get to take part of the county's money. But still, some of the money's coming back to the county. And again, after 5, they walk with all the county money. I believe what Paul is saying is the money that comes back from forfeiture, when these folks leave, we put into an account for the county to use at a later date to cover the expense of the plan in the future. Okay. And the other big thing with DC versus DB, county chooses to go to an 8 and 8, go to 10 and 10. I don't care. A year from now, you want to drop it back, no harm, no foul. It stops immediately. Where under a DB plan, when you make a change, that change is locked in and you're going to pay for it for the next 20 years. I always explain to folks that DC plans are dating, DB plans are marriages. You can change a DC plan, it's not a big deal. Everybody get over it soon. With a DB plan change, you're going to be looking at alimony and child support because you're going to be paying for it for a long time. So again, if down the road, a year from now, 5 years from now, the county finds that budget-wise, we can't sustain this 8 and 8. Okay, drop it back to 7 and 7. And by the next pay period, it changes. So you have a lot more flexibility to adjust those numbers with no long-term commitment.
Ms. Jim, can I just ask a
Yes.
clarifying question? What proportion of our employees do take advantage of the full max?
Ooh, I do not have those numbers off the top of my head.
But 80% participate.
Well, right.
Yeah, 80%. But again, if I was to guess, probably 50%. 50%.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get at
And I could pull those numbers for you and have them to you by the end of the day. But
I think
would
Miss
guess-
Cynthia has them.
Okay, that'd be great.
Good morning, Cynthia. Go right
So,
ahead.
Out of that, with the 457 currently, we have 134 employees that's participating. 3% at 3% of that is at 2%, and 1%, 6% at 1%. So we have 125 that's doing the whole 3% or doing the whole 7%. So it's pretty
So the
high.
vast majority of the 80% are
Yes, they
taking
are.
full advantage.
Yes, they are.
Okay, well, that's pretty compelling, I think,
Very
that it matters.
Very compelling.
Thank you.
What I'd like to do is get what the motion would be, and then we can try to have
Mr.
more.
Chairman, can I ask our county manager a
Certainly you
question?
can.
Paul, you said that we have significant dollar refunded back to the county because of employees leaving before 3 years or before 5 years at least. But if we go to 4% or higher, is that what is the cost to the county?
So right now, I'd have to put a number to it. I know it's less than 37,000, which is what I was paying attention to. I didn't finish costing it out when it beat that number, so
but
it's
we
going to
have-
be 1% of
Cover payroll.
of payroll for the
DC participants.
100
Yeah.
folks we have. So
So what is one?
I don't
what
have
is-
it off the top
what
of my head. I'm sorry.
Does anybody have any idea what our payroll is, monthly payroll?
With everything, I'd have to go pull it. To be honest, I forgot.
And Mr. Chairman, what I would recommend is, again, when you're changing a retirement plan document, we would draft a resolution and an amendment for that could be presented at the next meeting.
Okay, that's what I was looking for, the resolution.
I apologize. I ain't been feeling it for like 2 days.
I'm sorry to, I mean, Cynthia, do you know, what is our monthly payroll?
Our monthly payroll will be about a little over 900,000.
900,000, so,
That includes everything. That includes, right, that's everything. That's payroll, period.
yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Did you say we have a third of our staff is on DB?
No, DC. The participants in this.
It's
DC.
DC. Participating in DC, defined contribution. So it'd be a third of
But that's
300,000.
still 300,000 a month. So a 1% of that
3,000.
annually is,
$36,000.
I used to be able to do that in my head, but
It's 36,000, I believe.
I have a 35-year-old calculator that does wonders for me now.
Okay, so where I believe we are is we will prepare a resolution for our next meeting and vote on that at the next meeting.
And again, I'll talk to Paul, but the biggest thing is finding, if board approved, when we would set the effective date. And again, we can set it at any point. It does not obviously have to be January 1. It could be March 1st or whatever. Okay.
Very good.
Any additional questions?
Greg, other questions? We appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
And Paul, will ask you to prepare that resolution for our next meeting. Is that fair? I think we all have what I call the creeping crud, and coughing and going on. And I apologize for that. I've had it for over a week. I did go to the doctor, by the way. We'll move along, and we're hearing about this once again in the next meeting. With your permission, gentlemen, I'll move to item number 8, and this is a proposal to change Putnam County Personnel Manual, and we have some people signed in to talk on 8. And so before and it's called wellness leave, and the first person to speak on this is Billy Webster. Billy?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, staff. Thank you for this opportunity to make a few comments about the wellness leave. Quoting from the first paragraph in the packet, it says, "Wellness leave shall be allowed to all eligible employees for activities that support the prevention, treatment, or enhancement of their physical, financial, mental, or emotional well-being." That just about covers all the possibility, doesn't it? Examples of approved leave include, and I'll just mention one of them, activities supporting personal well-being. For a hunter, that could be an all-day deer hunt. For a golfer, could that be 2 rounds of golf at Uncle Remus? Well, I could go on with other examples, but you kind of get my drift. Aren't we what we're talking about for wellness days? Aren't we really just talking about personal days off? Also in section 3-7 or 3.70 of your personnel manual, it describes vacation days as follows. Vacation days are for the purpose of rejuvenating both physical and mental faculties. Isn't this definition of vacation days much the same as for the wellness days? I look forward to hearing about the studies or statistics that show the productivity gains these 3 personal days off will make in the organization. And hopefully will make up for the fact that the employees will be absent from their work. Just as an aside, why 3 days and not 1 or 4 or 7 or whatever? I'd like to have some explanation for why we picked 3 days. And my last question, why are you not allowing employees to take wellness or personal days off in September of each year? Thank you.
Thank you. The next item, let's see, Barb Vargo. Barb, you were on number 8.
Okay. I have been with the county for a while, not anymore, but when I was, if it would rain, I would ask for the day off. I would say, let's just close down the county and get boats and get us back to our houses. I was told that, do you realize how much tax money that would cost the county if everybody took the day off? Well, isn't this the same situation? We're giving them 3 days, and how much is that going to cost the county, we, the taxpayers, who are trying to keep our taxes down? I mean, in all actuality, these are basically personal days off. We get vacations. Some of us don't take them a lot and wind up adding them to our lifetime. So my question to you all, to make sure you think about it, this is not a wellness thing. This is more personal days off. They already get 1 month sickness a day every month, and they have their vacations, which accumulate. So why are we doing this? Because as I was told, and it came in the back of my mind, do you realize how much this is going to cost the county if everybody took the day off? Same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. And I believe that's all that was signed up to speak on that item. So we are to item number 8, proposed changes to the Putnam County Personnel Manual, the wellness leave. Cynthia, could you come forward? Any other comments?
Yes, good morning again.
Morning.
Mental health plays a significant role in overall being, with nearly 1 in every 5 American adults, about 46%, experience a mental health condition at some point in their lives. Because mental and physical health are closely connected, supporting both is essential for improving overall wellness. Offering Dedicated wellness time provides employees the opportunity to arrange preventive care, manage stress, and maintain balance in their lives. This not only enhances individuals' health, but also strengthens workplace productivity, morale, and culture. Ultimately, investing in employee wellness leads to reduced call-outs, improved retention, and meaningful long-term benefits for both employees and the county. Now, to address some of the questions, first of all, it will not increase the budget because that is time that is already in their pay. Also, the reason that it states from September to October, it is built on our fiscal year. We would not want someone to take a mental day in September when it ends in September. We don't want to go over into the budget. So that's one of the reasons. I'm trying to remember what else Mr. Webster asked. Oh, and the number of days. You stated, why not 1 or 5 or what have you? 3, because 3 to me is quote unquote an even day. Even though it's not, we all know it's an odd day. But 3 gives people the time to do what they need to do. We want employees to know that they're valued and that we care about them. So if they need a day to just help themselves mentally, for example, when we had the incident that occurred where the infants were burning in a car and we had the fire department and the EMS department there, those are things that stick with them. They need more than just, oh, a day, take it off, you're going to get over it. That type of thing can come back to them, and they might need a day to just regroup. We want them to be healthy mentally and physically. We want them to spend family time. And most of all, we want them to know that we care about them as employees and individuals. So, do I have any questions?
Questions, gentlemen? Commissioner Hersey?
As I understand it, one of the guidelines is that you can't take the 3 days consecutively.
That is correct.
So you can only take them one at a time. Secondly, you have to inform your supervisor ahead of time.
Yes, you do. You do have to inform them.
Now, let me ask you. You said it doesn't change the budget. I mean,
No, it doesn't.
where is our 3 paid holidays, personal days in the budget?
It is wellness leave days, and it's if you come to work.
So-
if you're not feeling well and you come to work, you're having a mental break, and you come to work. If you come in and you leave, you're still going to be paid for it. If you call in, you're still going to be paid for it. This is just a way of letting employees know that we care about them.
Well, we do care about the employees.
Yes, but they need to know that. That can
and I
help
hope that they recognize that. But you're talking about 3 extra days.
It's not extra days. They're paid for those days regardless.
Then why? We're just renaming.
We're just telling them it's a wellness day. If they need to take care of, sometimes people need to take care of things personally. And what that personal is, we have no way of knowing. We do not want to know that because it's personal.
So they already have available to them 3 days that they can take off, not consecutively. But let me just correct one thing. I mean, you say that a high percentage of adults have a mental something or other. That's not a one-day thing.
No, it's not.
Most adults who have a mental problem, that's a long-term issue, and probably not going to be cured by taking a mental health day.
But the thing about it is that one day, when they take it, it can help them. They might need to go and talk to someone, which they will, because a lot of times people have mental issues and they're not aware of it.
Have you tried to get an appointment with a psychiatrist?
No, but I heard you have.
Yeah. You don't get it that next day. I'll tell you that.
Commissioner Garrett?
Thank you. If I remember correctly, I remember when we were in Savannah and we were talking about the health plan, And the notion of wellness days came up at that time, and if I remember correctly, there was this idea that another benefit, I think you alluded to it, of something like this is that it keeps employees, it's a way of keeping employees healthier. And that may, again, we're sort of spending up front to try and save money down the road. But my question is whether, I seem to remember that there was some component of our new health plan that had a wellness element, that we were going to get wellness training or something. Is there a connection with our health plan here? Do we benefit in terms of potential bonus points down the road, lower premiums, anything to do with this, or is there no connection?
No, that's different. That is totally different. What you're speaking of in regards to the wellness plan, that is where we would have someone to come in, like a coach, come in and talk to them.
But are we not doing that or obliged to do that as part of our health care
We plan on
package?
starting doing that around the first of the year.
Okay. But there could be productive connections between these things. I mean, it sounded like they overlap pretty substantially in terms of the intent.
It depends. For example, if they're going for a preventive care, that is already part of our insurance that we have, and you get paid X amount of dollars. So a lot of times you don't want to take a sick day to go for your preventive care. That's a wellness day. So that is connected. I guess you could say they, to a certain degree, they do interchange with one another.
And it sounds like, to our earlier discussion, this is another way of the county trying to be not only compassionate but competitive. I don't know what other counties do around here. I don't know whether our total PTO allocation is average, better than average. I don't know. But, and I like this. I mean, part of me, to Mr. Webster's comments, say, well, we need checks and we need accountability and we need outcomes. But on the other hand, trust is also important. And I think most employees, with sufficient guidance, will do the right thing and won't abuse it. And we don't want to waste a lot of time and money trying to track something that is ultimately very personal, and
Exactly.
we can't really prove outcomes in a strong way. And I think on the cost to the county idea, it sounds like you're saying an extra 3 days. It's. I mean, again, you can't really prove it. Maybe productivity will go down, maybe certain things will get delayed, but we're not going to be filling that time with contractors or overtime or anything like that. So there's no actual cost to the county in dollar terms, and any other kind of cost isn't really quantifiable.
That is correct.
And we're hoping, in fact, that the introduction of these wellness days will improve morale and everyone will feel good and be healthier and will actually be more productive overall.
That is the intent, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner McElhaney?
So you said this doesn't cost the county anything, the days are already there. What do we call it now?
You come to work. It's work days.
But if we're adding 3 additional days.
We're not adding 3 additional days. We're just to a certain extent, we're redefining those days. We're taking 3 days and saying that, hey, these are your wellness days because you might need to do something. Preventive care. You might need to go take care of something personal. You're still going to be paid for it. You're just not clicking into your
But that's
it's
an
just
additional
it's just
day.
almost like your vacation days or what have you. You're just not using those days for that.
Right.
You're still paid for it.
But they're getting
It's
paid
not
not be
increasing
here.
the balance of the budget.
It's an additional benefit.
It's an additional benefit is what it is. There is a county that's currently doing that.
I'm
There's
sorry.
one county. There is a county that's currently doing that. And we have another city that's coming up that's going to take a vote on it as well. So it wouldn't be like we're the only ones that's doing it.
Other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I still don't understand. I mean, we're changing the personnel manual. Are we adding days, or are we adding paid leave days in the personnel manual, or are we changing the name of ones that already exist?
We're
can't answer
changing
that.
it. What's being changed is part of the leave. It's going up under leave. So we're just saying, hey, you have wellness days. They're called wellness leave.
To me, it's an additional benefit, but maybe I don't understand it. I see it as an additional benefit,
It is
which
an
is then
additional
adding 3
benefit.
days.
There are three additional paid leave days that can be taken. They can't be accrued, but they can be taken for any reason.
If you do not take those 3 days within that time frame, they just go away.
Yeah,
So it's-
and who wouldn't take them?
I don't know.
I can
It
answer
just-
that. I didn't take any in
Well, you don't.
50 years.
You're not. I What other leave can we substitute this name for? What other leave in the personnel manual is this? I mean, we have sick leave and we have vacation leave, and what else? Family leave, I guess.
No, not.
But there is no such thing as just, I don't feel like going to work today.
That's not what it is. It's tied to the
Well, it
wellness
is.
component.
I mean, I've certainly had days where I was sick of going to work and would take a sick leave, but, you know, we're adding 3 personal days, aren't we? And that is going to cost the county some money. And the question is, how much money is it going to cost the county?
Once again,
I mean,
it is not
it's
increasing
nice
the budget.
to. I think everybody recognizes the importance of our employees and respects them. But to just add 3 personal days, I think is more than I'm willing to do.
Commissioner Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, again, I would just state what I said earlier. I mean, I understand Commissioner Hersey's concern. It could certainly be open to abuse. I'm sure it will at the margins. But the goal here, as I see it, and again, this is an experiment. No one can predict what's going to happen. But the goal here is to make our staff feel more valued, improve retention, improve productivity, improve performance. Now, will it work? Who knows? But I don't think we can just assume that it's not going to work and everyone will abuse it and it's going to, you know, it's not going to cost the county money up front, but will it cost us in lack of service somehow at the margins? You know, perhaps, but it could be a benefit. So, and I think we won't know until we try. So I'm prepared to try it and see what happens.
Could I get a motion?
I appreciate Commissioner Garrett's thing, but give me some metrics. How do we measure whether the productivity has increased? What are we going to use as the yardstick for seeing whether it works or it doesn't work? I mean, you know,
Well, I can tell you this, that currently, as of today's date, on an average, employees take 7 sick days. That's an average. So if you're worried about a benchmark, you can start there.
our personnel manual, if you take a sick day, do you not have to provide evidence that
No,
you were
sir,
sick?
you do not.
So you can just take a day off and say, I was sick,
Yes, sir, that is correct.
and you know, I'm just sick of going to work. You know,
Okay, Commissioner McElhaney, I think you wanted to say something else or make a motion.
Well,
I'll entertain a motion at this point. We've
might as
kicked
well
it.
have a motion.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's fine.
No, I'm saying, I'm
don't yet.
asking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the proposed changes to the Putnam County Personnel Manual Wellness Leave with the amendment that staff explore a productivity metric that might give us a window into the impact this is having.
Is there a second to that?
For the purposes of discussion, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. The motion is to approve the amendment to the personnel manual, wellness leave, and request that the staff monitor and come up with a metric that says this is worthwhile, basically. Is that correct? Okay, discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if the staff does not provide the metric, will we reverse this?
You can come back with it at any time. I mean, we're moving it now. If we decide that we don't like this at some point, we certainly can come back.
Well, again, I would like to know what it's going to cost us. How you know, if every employee takes 3 personal days, how much is that going to cost the county?
Correct me if I misunderstood this, but my understanding is the average employee is taking 7 sick days now, period. That's a metric. Mm-hmm. And out of those, all this is doing is saying that we're not adding 3 to that to make it 10. We're saying of the 7 days, 3 of them can be wellness.
Yeah.
You're substituting.
I'm a little
Well,
confused.
is that accurate? I thought we were adding.
Yeah, I thought we were adding.
No, the thing of it is, you got to realize we can't tell you how many people will take wellness days, but we do know how many sick days on average that we have. So you really don't know
My
until
understanding
you
is
started.
that sick days, I mean, ultimately, there isn't a absolute limit to sick days. If you're sick, you're sick. And ultimately, if you're sick for long enough, you do need a doctor's note, I'm assuming, to prove that your sickness
After 3 days.
Right, after 3 days, right. So we don't have a cap on sickness days. If you have something and you need to be out of the office, that's ultimately open-ended. So it's not a substitution. I think we're more hoping that if people take wellness days proactively, they may have fewer sick days down the line.
Yes, because what'll happen, you got the wellness days. And if you see something that's going on, you can go out and try to prevent it, get a head start on it.
Right. That's the theory.
Other?
How many employees do we
Wait,
actually
let me
have?
recognize you. Yes, this is your second time. Please.
I'm simply asking the HR person questions. I'm not. How many employees do we have?
Currently, we have 202 full-time, 25 on probation, so 227.
200.
Full-time, that is full-time only.
So 600 days, if all 200, say 200 employees take 3 days of leave, what does that cost the county?
I cannot give you that because
I know you
everyone
can't.
have different
I know
salaries.
you can't because you don't know what the individual's salary is, but we do know that there is a $900,000 a month payroll, and so if a 200 employees take one of their personal days during a given month, that is going to cost us what? 30 into 900,000.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my rough calculation would be it's about 1.4% of hours if everyone maxed out. So it's not nothing, but it's pretty insignificant versus the total.
So 1.4% of 900,000 times 12 would be the full year.
So let me.
Go,
this
okay,
is just,
Commissioner McElhaney.
it's clear as mud here. How many sick days can an employee take in a year? Or how is time awarded for full-time employees?
It's 3.7 hours per pay period.
Okay. Per pay period?
per pay
And the
period,
pay period is 2 weeks?
every 2 weeks.
Okay. So,
And the maximum number of hours that an employee can retain with the county is 960 hours.
so they
So
can roll
there
it
are,
year
there,
to year?
yes, it rolls over. That
Okay.
rolls over, sick time does.
And we're proposing to add,
We're not adding,
would, it,
because they're working, you're calling sick time and wellness the same, and they're not.
but you are adding, you're giving 3 additional days. If you,
It
so,
won't be, it will not be counted
so-
into that. It
so
will not,
this
be-
would
it won't be
be-
calculated into their sick time.
if I say, hey, I'm gonna take a wellness day, it comes out of those sick time hours?
Just
that-
like if it comes out of, if you're working, you're actually at work. No, it's not coming out of sick time.
And I understand you're getting paid one way or the other, but you're getting paid not to be here. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, and don't hear me say this. I'm all about our employees, and whatever we can do to help them, I'm good with that. But to Commissioner Hersey's point, I'd love to see what it's actually gonna cost the county, because essentially, however you cut it, you're adding 3 days a year.
The-
So what does that cost? That's what I want to know.
Understand that, but just from hearing you all, from my perspective, and if I was an employee, it's almost as you're saying, you don't trust me as an employee to come in and do the job that I need to do. You do not want to award me or let me have anything if I need.
no.
I'm speaking for the employee.
It's not about trust, it's about financials. That's what I need to see. I'm fine with it. I just want to know what the cost is, and can we, what is it to the budget? That's,
It's not increasing the budget.
but if you're adding 3 days, it's got to increase the budget.
It's not. It's not. No, it's not.
And then, to the point of the motion that I seconded, if we're asking you to come up with some metrics, how much is it gonna cost you to come up with the metrics? To look at it. So we're just adding money on top of money.
If it was 1.4, it could be 151,200 a year. That's
Okay.
based on your 1.4. I get $151,200 a year is, if it's 1.4%. Okay, we're ready to go right ahead, one more time.
Yeah, I'm just saying, yes, that's the notional cost, but again, the assumption is that it's actually going to save us money. We're going to become more productive. Staff will be more loyal, better retention, better performance. So, and again, no one knows the answer, but it's not just a cost and no benefit. The theory is the benefit outweighs the cost, and only by doing it will we know whether that's true. And we won't be able to precisely measure it. It's just not that kind of thing. But I'd like us to at least explore how some sort of sense that it's working, because otherwise we're just riding blind.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Okay, now I want to make sure that we have this motion on the floor correctly. And the motion is to approve the Putnam County, change in the Putnam County Personnel Manual where it talks about wellness leave. And with the addition of where the staff is to develop metrics to say this is being justified, basically. And I'm going to make sure that I said it right.
That's the spirit, certainly, yeah.
That's the spirit, okay? We'll ask you to vote electronically. Well, the way I'm going to say it is the motion has failed. Commissioner McElhaney says nay, Commissioner Garrett yay, Commissioner Hersey nay. So the motion fails, and we'll just have to go back to the drawing board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, there's no other motion on that, right? I want to make sure that, because we altered that motion slightly. No, there's no other motion. Making sure we have it covered. Moving along to item number 9. This is appointment to the Central Georgia Development Authority. There are 2 vacancies on the Central Georgia Joint Development Authority and 2 applicants. These are 4-year terms ending December 5th, 2029. The applicants' names will be appeared on the screen. Let me say this has been advertised for. We've begged, we've tried to get people to come, and this is what we have. So the nominees are, do we have somebody to speak on that? Let me see, this is item number 9.
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on just a second. No one signed up for item 9. Yes, go right
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, just a point of information, what does, I mean, you served on it obviously for, I don't know, 4 years?
4 years.
What does this development authority do?
Well, basically,
Or has it done?
it's our region, it's the central region, and they work with development. The big project that I've been associated with is bringing the, I'll get it out in a second, I'm trying to get out what we did. The big deal out at the Air Force Base with solar energy. Now I got it. We bought out land and put solar energy at the end of the Air Force Base down at Warner Robins, and that has been the big project in these 4 years. And we're getting enough solar energy now to support the entire Air Force Base and other areas. But that has been the project. Other projects can come up, and this is the history of what's gone on. If you will take a look, I think that was in your packet. But you asked about what we've done since I've been on, and that's been the big thing. There are certain things that can affect us in the future, and I'd like to keep those going. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'm noticing that 2 of the current members of the Central Georgia Development Authority are also members of our PDA, and I could imagine there might be strategic advantage to that, connecting very local development activities to regional activities, but does it also speak to your point about begging and pleading, the difficulty of finding people, and I'm sure these folks feel stretched, having to do double duty. So I'm just trying to get a sense of whether this is, I'm talking about Ms. Burns and Mr. Doolittle. They're on, I think, both our PDA and
that is part of the way it's laid out. If you
it's a requirement. Right. Okay.
A requirement is two appointees shall be selected by the Putnam Development Authority.
I see.
And then we advertise for the other 2.
I see. Okay. Well, I guess that answers my question. Thank you.
Do I have a nomination or?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we recommend these 2, appoint Bill Sharp and Brandon Burgess to this Development Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the electronic vote.
Mr. Chairman, do we not vote by calling the name?
Yeah, I think so. The way that this is set up, commissioners will vote by saying the name of the applicant they are voting for and take a vote on the vacant position 1 first, and then we'll take a motion on the second vacancy. So first was my name.
Okay.
How do you vote?
Yay.
Yay.
3?
Nay.
Well, I can't vote for myself, so I guess we'll...
Why not? This is not high school president. I mean, you can vote for yourself if you like.
Oh, then I'll vote. I've served on it. I'm happy to vote. And so the votes were the commissioner, yes. District 1, yes. District 2, yes. District 3, no, nay. The carries, and I'll be happy to continue to serve. Next is position number 2, Brandon Burgess. How do you?
Yay.
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 And so we have 3 votes for Brandon Burgess, and he will be elected. That's District 1, 2, 3, yay. That will conclude item number 9. Moving to item number 10, appointment to the Putnam County Department of Family and Children's Services, the board. There are 5 vacancies on the Putnam County Department of Family and Children's Services. The board and 4 applicants so far. There are 5-year terms. Applicants' names will appear on the screen, and we'll call for the nomination. Now, once again, this is how we deal with this. Voice vote. Commissioners will vote by saying the name of the applicant they are voting for. Take vote on position 1, then we'll take it on 2, 3, and 4. And I don't think we have anybody for 5, so can we put the first names
Chairman,
up?
can I just clarify? Am I right that the DFACS board must have a minimum of 5 members to operate?
Let's see, there's supposed to be 5 members of that board, and I believe we only have 4 applicants.
And none of the legacy members are in place anymore, right?
Yes, sir.
Everybody has an opportunity to apply, and we've only had 4. I'd love to have somebody else.
So are we in effect, unless we have objections to any individual wanting to nominate everybody, and then we just need one more person for them to actually start working?
Right. We
They
need one
can
more.
start meetings, because they're just like us. If they have 5 members, they need a quorum.
Oh, I see. So they could meet and take action?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. They
Okay.
would have a quorum.
They have
with
not
4.
been able to. Some of these vacancies have been for 2 years.
Okay. And my other question is, are there any other limitations, district distribution, other things that mean that people are competing, the 4 are competing for a single position, or we could appoint them to 4 different positions?
They're by position already.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
There are restrictions on who can apply.
Right.
They have to be from certain
Backgrounds, right.
categories.
Right.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Other questions? If not, let's get the names back up. And we'll start, and Megan Stubbs, and she's District 1. You want to nominate?
Yes, I'll nominate Megan Stubbs.
Second.
Okay, and we'll go down to the vote.
Aye.
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 Megan Stubbs carries. Moving to the next position, Angela Nelson Williams.
I nominate Nelson Williams.
Second.
Nomination and second. Let's call for the question. How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Districts 1, 2, and 3 vote aye. She is now appointed. Next, Julie Breedlove.
I nominate Julie Breedlove.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, any discussion? Hearing none. District 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
2,
Aye.
3.
Aye.
Julie Breedlove is appointed or elected. Next is Calendra L. Burke.
I nominate Calendra L. Burke.
And is there a
Second.
second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. How do you vote?
Aye.
District.
Aye.
Aye.
And Calendra Burke is now been elected. We have one more opening. We've advertised in the paper, I know. I'll ask the members of the board if they know someone that would fill the bill. Please have them fill out an application. Lynn has them, and we'd love to have them apply.
And Mr. Chairman, I think Angela Nelson Williams, it says District 3, but based on her address, I think it's actually District 2. So I think
Okay.
District
And
2 is
we can
represented.
correct that. She's in District 2.
I think so. I know she put 3, but I think it's actually 2.
Church Street.
She lives on
Inside.
Church, yeah, she lives on
She's
Church
inside.
Street.
Bypass, so that's.
Right. So okay, we can correct that to 2. All righty, we will move right along. We have we have removed item number 11, and we're going to go to item number 12. Now, let's see, somebody signed in to talk about 12. 1, 2, 3, 4 people have signed in. So item 12 is discussion and possible action opposed to any tax exemption for the residential project proposed by Harmony Road, GALLC. Before we have any from this side, Fred Jones. You have signed in to speak. Fred?
Yeah, good morning. I just don't understand why this same issue keeps coming up over and over and over. I just want to encourage all y'all to vote against any tax exemption, especially for residential. I don't get any tax exemption, and I don't think anybody else in this room does. So I don't understand why contractors can't get their jobs done without asking for more money and free money, and then my taxes are going to go up. They've already gone up, and I don't want them to go up anymore. So please do not approve any tax exemption for any construction in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Bill Vargo.
Well, most of you know how I feel about the Helms Farm tax exemption problem. Yeah, I hope you guys voted to not approve this. Especially for residential where there's no tax revenue coming in off of this. It's going to become an obligation to the taxpayers with the added children that'll be on it for one. That'll go to our schools that we just built new ones that probably have to add on to. So that's going to be an added expense between that and the bus drivers and teachers and so forth and so on. But if this was for something such as Rivian plant coming in, I could possibly see a property tax abatement there because they're going to have employees being paid. There's going to be income revenue there, tax revenue. That's a different story when it comes to a tax abatement than doing this on a residential that's going to become a obligation to the county and the taxpayers. So I'd appreciate you guys sign against this. Whether it means anything or not, I don't know, because the PDA can do what they dang well please, it seems, and that's another story of possibly restructuring them. I hope that happens, so they can't just do as they please without the taxpayers' approval or a vote, a referendum as such that asks the question, should we allow a tax abatement? That should be put up to the voters, the taxpayers that are going to be footing the bill for this. So I appreciate you guys voting against that, like I seen on your agenda sheet, that form there. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next is Barb Vargo.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Jennifer from the Taxpayer Watchdog for going to the court for us, because I had no knowledge of it or I'd have been there. And I understand you guys cannot do anything about it, okay? And my situation, I believe we ought to do something to reconstruct PDA. And in the trust factor, a trust factor that makes me think we wait until we vote Splash in. Everybody's happy, Splash is in, so let's do this. If this had been done before we voted for this tax, there would be a lot of posters out there saying, you can afford to give tax abatements, we don't need Splash. And this is the thing I think in the back of my mind, is this was constructed to happen after Splash was passed. That is rotten. And I will say, I don't blame you as I seen the letter. I'm glad you're going to sign it, but is it going to mean anything? Until we do something with PDA, we're not going to get anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, Aaron Olson.
So I have handouts. Do you want me to give them to you?
Go ahead with Lynn. Stop the clock, if you will, and restart, if you don't mind.
I signed up for 13, and I'm probably going to go over 3 minutes here.
3 minutes.
Okay, so I'll come back up for the rest because I won't get it done. Gentlemen, voters, these documents are also available on Taxpayer Watchdog page. The first page is the PDA physical audit 2024. As you can see, the auditor has concerns about the lack of proper accounting. You would think after all this time that they'd be able to do it, but even with the auditor saying, hey, you need to straighten up, we still have problems. If you go to the next page, the invoice is dated January 6, 2025. You can see down below where it was created on 1/6/2025. Great. Next month, same amount, same description, date 1/24/2025, created 1/24/2025. So we have 2 invoices in the same month. Go to the next page, dated March 3rd, 2025. Look at the created date. Anything look odd to you? 4 days ago? After the open records? Next spreadsheet, and all of this is on their website. You can go verify this. But 5 out of the 9 invoices were created 4 days ago within an hour. Guys, that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. You can't recreate invoices. When we do an Open Records Act, we want to see what you got then. We don't want you to fix what you're doing. You can also look at the advertising expense and see that the numbers don't match. That's a problem. Your finances are supposed to reflect your invoices. I've gone back to the PDA and asked for the additional invoices, but I don't have them because they don't have enough manpower. Well, let me tell you, this is just going to get worse. We're going to do Open Records Act on them until we get to the bottom of what's going on here. If you look at this thing, they haven't done a Facebook post since August 31st, 2021. Instagram post was 1/19/21. Their website was done by Global Media in 2022. Nothing appears on the Titan website. Next page is their annual budget, or their annual profit and loss. $66,000 for advertising. Has anybody seen this advertising? Because I haven't. Next page.
And you can come back on 13.
Thank you.
Next on the list is George Kalichak. George?
I travel the state looking at development authorities as part of the Eye of the Taxpayer Association, which is a worldwide association. And some of the things that I've discovered, and I'll be going to the Putnam County Development Authority meeting next week. Number one, there are authorities out there that don't have measurement systems. If you provide monies, taxpayer monies, bond monies for projects that a development authority provides, and say the developer and the business says, we're going to provide 5,000 jobs within 1 year, and they have 1,000 jobs at the end of 1 year. We need to ensure, however this situation goes with this development authority, is there somebody going back every year to these businesses and saying, have you met your obligations? If not, then that part of that money needs to be clawed back. It's plain and simple. So that would be one item. Number two, is these development authorities have select individuals appointed, however the individual counties want to do so. But I'd ask you to look at OCGA 8-3-8. Yes, there is, through that law, you can provide certain tax abatements to certain types of residential entities. But each county can make their own decisions, their own conclusions. And is it something that maybe Putnam County would want to look at from a workforce housing standpoint that would improve the county's financial situation and the lifestyle? So there's many, many questions that have to be asked here before any types of decisions would be made. And for example, next week on the 9th, they have on their agenda renewal of Tylen Pictures contract extension for Putnam Development Authority strategic plan for enhancing the image, the identity, and the brand. My question would be, if they're going to be making these kind of decisions, do we have appropriate personnel, and I would be saying the board members here, are you attending that meeting? Do we have city officials attending that meeting? Do we have Board of Education members? See, when you're making these types of decisions for quote-unquote development, what is the real consequence for making that decision, whether it's positive or negative? And then I'll come back up on 13.
Thank you, George. That concludes all that have signed in to speak on number 12. So we'll move right along, and this is a discussion and possible action to oppose any tax exemption for the residential project proposed by Harmony Road, Georgia, LLC. Commissioner Hersey added this item, so Commissioner Hersey, you're on you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I believe part of the package is a resolution. So my motion would be to authorize the chairman to sign the resolution as provided in the package. Tuesday of this week, as was mentioned, there was a court hearing in Superior Court.
Commissioner, could I get a second before we start discussion?
I'm sorry.
Is there a second to this?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and the motion is to authorize the chairman to sign this and roll it down so I can read. I want to say it. A resolution of the Putnam County Board of Commissioners. This is a simple resolution. And it says, whereas the Putnam Development Authority intends to enter into a bond for lease agreement with Harmony Road, Georgia, LLC, and whereas the agreement provides for issuing $100,000 of revenue bonds. No, I'm sorry, 100 million, is that right? I'm not reading it, it's 100 million revenue bonds, proceeds of which would be used for the construction of a residential project. And whereas the agreement provided for payment in lieu of taxes as partial incentive for issuing the bond, and whereas the agreement would convey a tax exemption to Harmony Road, Georgia, LLC. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Putnam County oppose a tax exemption for Harmony Road, Georgia, LLC, and does not grant its consent to any payment in lieu of the taxes offered by Harmony Road, Georgia, LLC. And this is in witness thereof. A resolution has been duly adopted by the governing authority of Putnam County, Georgia, this day. So that's the actual resolution. Is the number 100 million? I'd never heard that before. Is that good? I had never heard that number before.
You'd never heard that they were going to issue
No.
$100 million worth of bond?
No. I'd heard
I mean, it's
60.
plain language in the agreement.
Okay, I had not seen that. Okay. So that's now. We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Hersey, you now can.
There's two parts to this resolution. The first is to oppose a tax abatement for this residential project. This particular agreement has been brought before this board on two different occasions, in September of 2024, and again in February of this year. And in both cases, there was a unanimous rejection of the agreement, which included a tax abatement for the residential project. And in the first instance, it was, or both instances, it was for a 20-year tax abatement plus up to 3 years or approximately 3 years during a construction period. So it was really 23 years of no property tax for this project. As I said, in both instances, this was rejected, and I know that two of the members on this board voted against it in February. They were not on the board in 2024. Different members of the board actually voted against this. I don't want to go back into all of the reasons why it was voted down. It was primarily because of opposition to the tax abatement. The second part of this resolution, though, has to do with consent. On Tuesday of this week, in Superior Court, this particular issue of issuing $100 million worth of revenue bonds, so-called phantom bonds, was to be validated. It has been mentioned by one of our speakers that Ms. Ray objected to the validation of those bonds. I also rose in objection to the validation of those bonds. There were three principal points that were brought out. One of them has to do with the fact that in order to issue those, or to validate those bonds, and to validate basically the agreement that underlies the issuance of those bonds, required consent of this board as the tax levying authority of Putnam County. Now, suppose we did give a consent. What would happen? Well, a tax abatement would be given, and the most recent version of this is for 15 years plus the construction, so it's approximately 18 years worth of no property taxes paid on this project. Who would be hurt more? Well, it'd be the school system. In OCGA 36-80-16.1 specifically says that a consent is required from the tax levying authority, that is this board, if the so-called pilot payments or payments in lieu of taxes are not equal to what the Board of Education would have received if this was a taxable property. They were clearly less than what the Board of Education would have received. So that was a major objection to the validation of those bonds. Now, Judge Bradley has taken this issue under advisement. I don't know when he will rule or if he will rule for validation or non-validation of those bonds. But this resolution says that this board will not give consent to payments in lieu of taxes as contained in the agreement between the Putnam Development Authority and the Harmony Road, Georgia LLC. The other thing, and I will speak to this particular issue on the next agenda item, but one of the things is that in the first version of this agreement, a request was made for consent by this board, the Board of Education, the tax commissioner, and the board of appraisal. The second version, in February of this year, dropped the Board of Education from the list of consents. This latest, the third version of it, has no consent whatever. It's simply an agreement between the PDA, as if they can do it, they can give a tax abatement without so much as by your leave from this board, which relies upon property taxes to meet our budgetary needs. So I am simply saying, let's do a yes or no vote on this resolution. Are we going to give our consent, or are we going to withhold our consent? Are we going to grant tax abatement, or we're not going to grant a tax abatement? That's what this resolution really says. That regardless of how the court decides, I mean, the court may validate the bonds and the whole thing may go through without our consent, but based on our two previous votes, I believe that this board is ready to withhold its consent from this agreement and from any kind of tax abatement for this project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Other discussion? Commissioner Garrett.
So I think a key point of fact here is whether the PDA, as a constitutional development authority, is permitted to proceed with this project, with the tax abatement, with the bond issue, without the consent of the taxing authorities, meaning this body and the school board. And Mr. Chairman, if I may pose this question to our attorney, I just want to see if there is clarity on this point or whether there's actually ambiguity on this point.
Go ahead. I got whatever Paul got too, so I'll try to get through it. But I realize that there's been an awful lot of conversation and discussion about what has been presented to the Board of Commissioners and your involvement in the Development Authority's proposed project. There are times where a development authority seeking approval of a bond or a project where they issue a revenue bond, that there would be a requirement that the Board of Commissioners provide their consent. As I understand it, previously the proposal that came from the PDA, though it did not trigger any of those requirements, the PDA still came to the board for approval on the basis of, I think, twofold. One, to get buy-in from the public entities that represent the citizens of Putnam County. And two, to the extent that if there ever was an argument that any of the either federal or state law provisions that would require approval, you would check that box. So I think that was the belt and suspender approach. With respect to where we find ourselves now, I want to make sure that everyone understands, and I think this from the community standpoint, a lot of the comments that have been made, tax abatement is not a term that exists in Georgia's statutes or law. The term tax abatement doesn't exist. It is a common term that has been used to describe how these types of projects don't have to pay taxes. And the way that works is the Development Authority, which in Putnam County was created by Local Act, I think well before the state law went in place for the general creation of development authorities, is a tax exempt entity, meaning the state of Georgia created the Putnam County Development Authority, and that development authority does not pay taxes. So when the idea of tax abatement comes up, it is not a approval from the Board of Commissioners or the Board of Education that says we're not going to tax this property. You don't actually have the ability to do that. There were some comments made earlier today about assessment and how much property and what someone should be paying in taxes and not. That entire system takes place outside of you. You do appoint the people who make those decisions and guide that, as do the voters elect some of those individuals, but you yourselves don't decide this property will be taxed, this property will not be taxed. The proposal in development projects that involve an authority is that the development authority owns some interest in that property. Sometimes it is a full fee simple, meaning they own it and it's always going to be theirs. Or sometimes it's a lease agreement. Sometimes it's for equipment, but the abatement in those terms comes from the ownership of the authority, not from a decision made by the Board of Commissioners or the Board of Education that says we're not going to pay for this property. Or excuse me, we're not going to tax it. Because you, again, I want to be real clear, you don't have the ability to decide someone's not going to pay taxes. The proposal that was presented, at least in the initial form, would have the development authority holding some interest in this project. And not just in this particular project, but anything the development authority does, which could have varying amounts of ownership. Sometimes they own it outright, or sometimes they own it for a little bit. And that development authority law is based off of what the courts have put in place, that what you can get by on. Because if you think about it in practical terms, if you buy a house, you own it. You get to make changes to the house. You get to sell it to somebody else. A lot of times you have a mortgage and you got to pay your mortgage, but you own it. If you lease a house, you don't own it. If you want to make a change to something, you got to call the landlord, or the landlord could just say, hey, at the end of this lease, I'm going to sell this house. You got to get out. That is kind of where I think sometimes it gets confusing about what interest is actually held by the authority. The initial project that was brought to the Board of Commissioners, at least as far as we could tell, did not include any provision that would have required the Board of Commissioners to approve. Whether or not that form has changed from what was presented back earlier this year, I'm not sure. It's not been brought back to your attention. If there was a provision in that agreement that required it to be approved by here, I would suggest that's a flaw that would be baked into the cake that would require, it could be attacked collaterally later. In other words, if there was supposed to be an approval and it didn't happen, then someone could do something about that. The bond validation proceeding really does a couple of things. The intention there is that when a development authority who is not does not have the same requirements that are put on a Board of Commissioners about how we gain interest or sell interest in projects. The bond validation, as I understand it, is an attempt to allow there an opportunity for a citizen or anybody interested party to come forward to the Superior Court and say, Judge, is this allowed? And when I say is this allowed, it's a ton of issues beyond just the ones that are present in this case. But primarily they're looking to say, does this violate the gratuities clause? Is somebody getting something for free? Are we, the taxpayers, not getting a benefit? Two, is this interest that has been put in this project, whether it be a lease or a own or equipment, all that, does it actually amount to ownership such that the taxes shouldn't be paid? And three, these are the general terms, is this project within the powers of this authority? So for example, if the authority was doing something in a different jurisdiction, or it was doing something that's not allowed. In this case, I didn't attend the hearing, and the Board of Commissioners is not a party to that validation process. But my understanding is that the judge has not made a ruling, and he's going to consider that and any other provisions that he wants to see if it was validated or not. So it's a very long way of saying that I know it's been confusing. Quite frankly, I think the confusion has been made worse because the board, the development authority's attempt was really just to try to get buy-in from this body, and I realize now that may have looked as if we had a say in it. As far as I can tell, the proposal that has been presented would not include us consenting. And I can get into more specifics, but I've said those before, that if some of the pilot payments were being used to pay back the revenue bond, it would require us to approve. And my understanding is that that's not in the agreement, but I do believe that the parties that opposed the bond validation raised that with Judge Bradley, so that'll be a decision for him to make. And secondly, if the interest on the bonds was taxable or non-taxable, it could also include a provision that we have to approve. my understanding is that was not how the deal was put together. So again, I think the overall thing I would say here is that we don't really consent to ownership. And maybe we're getting into number 13 a bit too, but from our perspective, when a development authority acquires property and the taxes aren't paid, it's not a function of something that we, the body of the Board of Commissioners or the Board of Education, does. It's the action where the board, the development authority acquired the interest. Larger issue here is the system itself. I'm describing where the system exists today. It was created in Georgia over the past 80, 70 years. I understand there's an awful lot of conversations, not just in Putnam County, but throughout the state about this system and the way it works. Every once in a while, the legislator has attempted to reform the way that development authorities operate and the impact that citizens have. Those things haven't necessarily been successful, but if you just look at the legislator, there have been several bills over the past maybe 5 or 10 years that have tried to have more insight or involvement from the public. But I'm not a good advocate to tell, I'm not really the best advocate to tell you why authorities are good ideas or bad ideas, but I think there are conversations all around that, and we find ourselves in the same position that a lot of places do, trying to explain to the public the way these complicated laws work and our role in it. So,
Mr. Attorney,
yes, Commissioner Hersey.
you have obfuscated this entire issue, and I appreciate that you like to hear yourself talk. But let me read you black letter law that perhaps you're not familiar with. This is from OCGA 36-80-16.1, and it has to do with one section of this, which is Section C, or Section D. Let me just read Section D, number 3 out under Section D. The use of payments in lieu of taxes levied for county school district purposes. Now, the agreement that was presented has payments in lieu of taxes or pilot payments in the amount of 15% of what the taxes should have been. All right, anyway, use of payments in lieu of taxes levied for county school district purposes shall be covered by consent under subparagraph C1B, which gives us the consent of this code section, if the Board of Education of the county school district or the local legislative body of the county, and we are the local legislative body of this county, whichever is authorized to establish the ad valorem tax millage rate for educational purposes, and we do establish that. The Board of Education is just a recommending body. We are the only ones who can set a millage rate for the county. Whichever is authorized to establish the ad valorem millage rate gives a consent to such coverage by resolution duly adopted by said Board of Education or local legislative body as appropriate. That is, we have to have an actual resolution to consent to using payments in lieu of taxes for educational purposes. That's what this black letter law says. Now, have we ever given a consent? No. And this resolution says we will not give a consent to payments in lieu of taxes, okay, for this project. The judge will decide if this law overrides the arguments of the PDA with regard to validation of these bonds. But our job, as I see it, is to give a yes or no vote on, do we consent to payments in lieu of taxes for Harmony Road, Georgia LLC? Do we condone a tax abatement And I understand that we are not actually giving a tax abatement, but a tax abatement is part and parcel of this agreement, right? I think we've gone through, as I said, 2 meetings in which we have unanimously turned down this agreement, which provides tax abatements and also includes payments in lieu of taxes. We have had 3 town halls on this issue, and I think at least a majority of speakers at those town halls opposed a tax exemption. I think the speakers in the public comments, in the comments about this issue, opposed a tax exemption. As I said, what happens? Well, if a tax exemption is granted by virtue of the PDA owning this project, the Board of Education at least has to raise a certain amount of money to provide the services that is required of it. So what is their choice? If they can't get property tax from this project, which is possibly going to generate expenses for them, they're going to have to raise property taxes, the millage rate. So all of us taxpayers really end up subsidizing a private entity, and the question is, do we get an equitable return for it? I haven't seen anywhere in here. I mean, the generation of 3 jobs over 18 years, that doesn't sound to me like an equitable consideration for this. Anyway, what is before us is really a yes or no vote on, are we going to give consent to payments in lieu of taxes as it affects certainly the Board of Education, and the same consideration would be for the services required from the county, such as fire and police and infrastructure, that may cause us to also increase our millage rate so that we can cover those expenditures. Are we going to do that? Or are we not? And if we vote against this resolution, it's saying that we are willing to give consent to payments in lieu of taxes. We are willing to provide a tax exemption through ownership by the PDA of this particular project. On the other hand, if we vote to sign this to authorize the chairman to sign this resolution, and we're saying that regardless of what the court decides, how they rule, for us, we are going to withhold consent. We are going to oppose any tax exemption for this project.
Other comments? Commissioner?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So before District 3 Commissioner started talking, I was prepared to agree with him. However, since he has now cited some Black's Law section, whether we, and I don't know that we actually know that applies, I'd have to defer to the attorney and maybe he could figure it out, but it says in there that we must have a resolution, so he is presenting a resolution today and nobody's had an opportunity to look to see whether it actually applies. I just don't think, I need to know from the attorney whether or not, where we stand with that. Does it apply? Does it not apply? Is it symbolic? Does it really mean anything?
Mr. Attorney.
Well, let me start by saying I certainly don't intend to talk anything down, and I apologize if I get long-winded sometime. I know that the context of this is not something that is easily grasped, and my intention is not to filibuster. We do that enough here in Putnam as is. I think what I would suggest is, by the logic that, first off, let me be real clear here. No, there's no judge in this room right now. There is no ruling. There is nothing that someone's going to hand down and say this is the law. By the logic of what I understand is that if we're required to give consent, then you have not given consent. So what we have here is an affirmative negative motion. But if the intent is that we were required to give some consent, then you have not done that. Quite frankly, twice now, this body has considered approval of this arrangement, and it has been voted down twice. So my position would be that you've already not given consent to the extent that it was required by law. Now, whether or not you want to go further and suggest it in this way, does an affirmative motion approve two negative motions you've already made? I'm not sure. I know if I was challenging the grounds that we should have consented, then Exhibit A would be the first minute, the copy of the minutes where y'all didn't approve it, and then Exhibit B would be the second time you didn't approve it. But as far as Commissioner Hershey's position, it's not an opinion I could give you right now because it involves the school board. It involves the form of the documents, which I haven't, of the current arrangement. I know the documents that were provided to from the PDA back when we considered this earlier this year. I don't know the final form today because they've never been given to this body for approval. So I could not give you an opinion on whether it applies. But I can certainly do that. We could review and see. But let me be real clear, it's already before Judge Bradley. So the decision on moving forward is already down the line. And again, I'll reiterate, y'all didn't consent twice. So if it was required, I would suggest to anybody interested, not just at this table, but anybody who has interest in it, y'all have already taken the action of not consenting.
Okay,
Well, we've not consented twice, and I still don't consent. But in light of what the District 3 Commissioner has put in there, I'm not comfortable authorizing the chairman to sign this until we have a clear understanding of what that actually means.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Here's a copy of OCGA 3680 16.1. I mean, I can't be any clearer than to read the black letter law. What does it mean? It means that in order to give consent to payments in lieu of taxes, this board has to, by ordinance or resolution, give its consent.
And again, I'd like to hear from the attorney who has a law degree that the District 3 Commissioner does not have.
I'll just reiterate, you haven't given consent. You've not given consent twice.
We haven't. Okay, done.
But
So the chairman ought to sign this resolution.
Commissioner Garrett.
And again, since none of us actually have the current version of the MOU, we're all a little bit blind, but to try and to substantiate Commissioner McElhaney's concern, what I was told by a third party, and I can't validate it, is that some attempt was made in the final version to use language other than pilots to indicate the way some monies would be returned to the county, because I don't think the PDA's attorneys are ignorant of this law, and therefore I would also like to know whether there's some other way they can facilitate this bond and these payments that avoids this particular pilot restriction. Because I'd be surprised if they, because my understanding is pilots were definitely in the earlier versions of the MOU. But my understanding, without having seen it, because we haven't been sent it, they're not in the final version of the MOU. And if that's true, then we definitely have this question of ambiguity. And I'll just say more generally, I think it's very unfortunate we've ended up in this situation. I think the PDA's heart is in the right place and their intentions are good, and I think they were right to try and achieve consensus. I don't think it's a good look for a PDA to proceed with a project without the consensus of the taxing authorities and to some extent the citizens. There's a logic to development authorities having that autonomy, not to get mixed up in politics and to make smart business decisions. But at the same time, when there's such division, the school board writing a letter to the paper and this standoff between the PDA and the school board, and now between the commissioners and the PDA, it's just not a good place for us to be. And I personally, and I've said this many times to many people and on this stage, that I like aspects of this particular project. I can see some benefit to the county. I do think long term the county would come out ahead financially. I'm not against it in some sort of principled way that many people are, but I don't like the fact that we've got this division and that we're seemingly forcing something through. I just don't think that's healthy for the PDA, healthy for the county. Just isn't how we should be proceeding. So I don't know where we're going to get with this particular resolution, but I'm divided between appreciating aspects of the proposal from the PDA, but not appreciating where we've ended up in terms of lack of consensus and it being forced through behind the scenes. Anyway, thank you.
Just a clarification for Commissioner Garrett. Attachment I of the agreement that was approved by the PDA on the October 14th, 2025 meeting lists payments in lieu of taxes. And in the year one, which is the year in which 100 units received their CO, they are paying $86,000. In the original version of this same MOU or agreement, the first year, that same 100 units of development were paying $186,000 or $151,000, I'm sorry. So somehow their payments in lieu of taxes between the first version and this third version have dropped by about 50%. And I don't understand how. The other thing is that the first version had on year one, 100 units, valued at about $31 million. This version, the same 100 units, are valued at $24 million. Now, how you lose $7 million in about a year, I'm not sure. Did they cut back on the insulation on these units, or I don't know. But they lost somehow $7 million worth of value in a little over a year. There are payments in lieu of taxes included in this, and you'd be happy to read this thing if you care to. It runs to some 60 pages worth of. Anyway, my concern is going forward in the future. I don't know what the judge is going to rule. We will get into another objection that was raised principally by Ms. Ray in our next agenda item. But for now, the question is, and our attorney says, well, we withheld our consent. but we have not made a positive statement about withholding that consent. We've simply voted against the agreement, okay, or the MOU. So, yeah, we did withhold our consent, but we have not actually had an affirmative consent withholding. And that's what this resolution is simply trying to do, is to affirm not just that we are against the agreement, but we are against payments in lieu of taxes.
Other comments?
And I'd be happy, Mr. Nelson, you need a copy of this OCGA article? Or,
No, Commissioner, this is not the way I like to practice law, but I'm of the position. I'm of the position that D3 does not apply. If you read into the ordinance, the statute, D3 says the use of payments in lieu of taxes levied for county school district purposes shall be covered by consent under subparagraph C1B of this code. Well, C1B is the section that says payment in lieu of taxes cannot be used to pay back the revenue bonds. That was the provision in the agreement that said that payment for these revenue bonds would be covered by the lease, not by the developer. I know that I was told that at the validation hearing, the issue of bond payments pilot payments going to pay back the bond was raised. So that is with Judge Bradley. That D3 says that there's another way you could have C1B consent, which was, according to the PDA, not required. That issue has been raised with Judge Bradley. So D3, C1B, all of that would still be before the court. A decision can be made on it. If you choose not to decide, you have still made a choice. And in this case, twice, the body has not provided consent. So whether or not you want to move forward on this item, I guess I would say that you certainly can.
I would love to debate with you, but Section C1B says, in the case of payments in lieu of taxes for educational purposes. Now, are any of the payments in lieu of taxes going for educational purposes? Well, I assume that if there are payments in lieu of taxes, as prescribed in Attachment I, $86,000 or whatever in this agreement, that it will be divided between the county and the Board of Education in proportion to their relative millage rates. I mean, that's the way taxes are proportioned. So some of those payments in lieu of taxes are going for educational purposes.
Right, but C1B, you have to go to 1 first. 1 says if payments are going to pay back the bond, then A and B. But you don't ever get to A and B.
I would argue the case that says under B, it says if payments are in lieu of taxes, in the case of payments in lieu of taxes for educational purposes. Now, there are payments in lieu of taxes for educational purposes.
You don't get to B unless you hit 1 first. C1B. But that, again, I'm going to be real clear. This issue has already been brought to Judge Bradley. It is before him. He can rule on this. All
I'm saying is that this board should take an affirmative step to withhold its consent.
I want to be real clear. That is completely within the purview of this board. The question that was asked of me is whether you need to.
What the judge decides is what the judge decides.
That's I wouldn't be a very good lawyer if I didn't believe that. So.
And I enjoy a good argument.
I've never argued with you.
Come on, guys.
We've never disagreed.
That's it. We're going to cut it off right here. You have something to say, and this is the last one.
Thank you. So, in my opinion, we have taken an affirmative step. Twice. in not approving this. Some like this deal, some don't. I'm leaning towards the don't more so than not. The more I hear about it, the more things get uncovered. The $100 million is the first time I've seen that. And maybe that changed from version to version, and that makes me really uncomfortable. But I don't think that we need a resolution. And let me hear me say this. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the terms, and so I oppose them. On the record. I don't think that we need a resolution, especially since it doesn't apply. Okay? We've already said it twice. The attorneys told you. We haven't agreed to it. And we're not going to agree to it. So, there you go.
Everybody's spoken at least twice. I'm gonna go ahead and call for the question, and let's vote. And what the motion on the floor is to adopt a resolution of the Putnam County Board of Commissioners and have the chairman sign. And it says, whereas the Putnam Development Authority intends to enter into a bond for lease agreement with Harmony Road, Georgia LLC, and whereas the agreement provides for issuing $100 million of revenue bonds, the proceeds of which will be used for the construction of a residential project, and whereas the agreement provides for payment in lieu of taxes as partial incentive for issuing the bonds, and whereas the agreement would convey a tax exemption to Harmony Road, Georgia LLC. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Putnam County oppose the tax exemption for Harmony Road, Georgia LLC, and does not grant its consent to any payment in lieu of taxes offered by the Harmony Road, Georgia LLC. Is that covered? I'm sorry?
My device has
Oh, top left.
top left.
No, you did that already.
The other
I
left.
already did that and swiped it up and it came up fucking, I mean,
We'll get
it says register your device.
What do I hit that?
Okay. So we have a motion and it was seconded, I gather, because we had some discussion, a little bit of discussion.
Vote.
Oh,
Voting is in progress electronically.
so we're voting to allow the chairman-
Authorize me to sign that resolution. Authorize the chairman to sign that resolution. No need for the chairman to vote.
No, yes, there is. If the
No,
chairman-
it's, if the vote has failed.
If you,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, if you vote yay, the motion will pass.
No, it'll be 2-2. It requires 3 votes.
I said if you vote yay.
I'm not, I'll vote.
You have to vote.
I'll vote. Voting is complete. The chairman votes nay, District 1 nay, District 2 yay, and District 3 yay. This motion fails. Moving along to item number 13. This is a discussion and possible action to dissolve the Putnam Development Authority. We have 4 people signed in. Okay. 4 people are signed in. Bill Vargo is first.
The dear old PDA, what a controversial group of people. You know, you guys discussed bringing this entity down a long time ago, about back when this Helms College thing started. And they were seemed to me they were basically not, they were kind of ignored some of the things they'd done in the past because they weren't big issues like this Helms Farm thing. And now it's been revealed that they have a little more power than you folks. They can do things without a taxpayer approval, like this tax abatement deal. They can do things without your approval. None of them were voted in. You guys were voted in, and we go by what you guys rule. These people are just doing as they dang well please, and sometimes I think it's a self-serving issue in certain circumstances for their own personal gain. And I don't know any of them, so I'm not trying to target anybody, but we have a real estate salesperson on that board, and as a director or a board member, according to the laws I've seen, ACCG and the state of Georgia, that a director or a board member of the county cannot do business with the county without that board's approval, you guys' approval. So in this case, she'd been selling property to and from the county and the city, while within the county, and that creates a conflict of interest. That brings up another issue I spoke about a while back about the county not having any conflict of issue rules and regulations, which the state and ACG says the county can adopt rules as they want to. And in that case, I'd like to see these conflict of issue rules established by you folks so this doesn't happen. This lady gets a salary commission for every real estate transaction she does. She can do business in the county, but not with the county. That's the way the law is written. Mr. Sharp, you can't do business with the county any more than Mr. Hershey can. This board director is doing business with the county, and you guys are allowing it. Now, that's another reason I think that PDA needs to be brought down, reestablished with the rules and regulations that you guys, guidelines you set up, and then brought back up because the state requires a PDA. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next on the list is Barb Vargo.
Okay. Everybody here sometimes says, we got to have the PDA, which is a good thing. When he says, you guys are elected, he's right. You are elected. What he forgot to say is, you are the ones who elect the board members. If I remember right, there was a meeting to put people in place because other people were going. And you turned around and elected the same board members. So you get the same. So you're either going to have to decide what you're going to do with these board members and quit thinking that, oh, this person I know, or this is a familiar name, and realize what's happening. It's become an embarrassment to all the county. And our PDA is an embarrassment. Now, when you want to talk about this property that we're flipping over, say $100 million, whatever, they pay property taxes right now. It may be barren land, but they pay it. If you take and then you turn this land over to PDA, then of course they're not going to be paying any taxes. I mean, that's just obvious. But they have to, unless we're going by goodwill, and for some god-awful reason, they're tax-free. I have no idea. But at this point in time, what I see is them paying taxes, and if you give it back to PDA, then they won't be paying taxes. Now, where is that coming from? Oh, that'll come from us. We are the ones who are going to pay it. And this is what you got to stop. You guys sit here and beat your heads against the wall when it comes to the budget and then let everything fly. You got to stop this. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Okay, next on the list is Aaron Olson. Aaron?
Yes, I'm on the page that says East Point. This is an article from Georgia Entertainment. Walter C. Rocker III joined the cast as CFO for Titan Pictures. I think we just talked about that up here. The next page is what's a gentleman already talked about, December 9th, the PDA agenda, Titan Pictures. They want to extend this contract another 2 years. And let's look at what they're going to provide for us. 12 short videos, 6 long videos, professional photography. Next page says, film and photography fundamentals, storytelling, social media best practices. Although in the past, we haven't had a post since 2021. So I've asked for the contract. I haven't been given the contract in open records. $57,300 we're going to pay Titan per year for advertising. This is ridiculous. This was signed by Jim Stone on December 4th. What was that, yesterday? Look a little suspicious, doesn't it? Guys, we need a forensic audit on the PDA. They can't do accounting. And we're going to put a $100 million bond and 15 years worth of tax abatement on an entity that doesn't have any employees and can't handle their accounting. Things are going in the wrong direction, guys. Wellness days cost money. Anybody that's ever run a business knows more days off costs money. You want to limit speech. We can't use the technology that we pay for. A 15-year tax abatement costing taxpayers millions of dollars, and you did not come out strongly against it. The Board of Education did, but you guys didn't. I'm announcing today that if Commissioner Hersey runs for the chair, I will run for D3 Commissioner. I promise the voters I will bring sanity back to Putnam County, and I will look for every way possible to find waste and reduce costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is George. Still here, George? Yeah, you're still here.
Good afternoon. Several items here. Mr. Hersey, I appreciate your due diligence. Mr. Garrett, Mr. McHaney, Mr. Sharp, I appreciate your due diligence. In legal terms, it's called discovery. But I'll be going to the meeting next week because, see, I travel the state and I listen to all these other development authorities. This is not the only county where these types of questions are being asked. So there is discussion already at the Gold Dome of making some changes because they're going to have to be made. Number one, the citizens are the voice. And my question will be to the Development Authority next week, why are all their meetings at 1 o'clock? Hell, I'm going to have to take a day off. And I don't get paid for it. So I'm going to ask for them to maybe have it at 8:30 in the morning when people can attend, or 6 o'clock at night. Let me tell you about BioLab and the Development Authority in Rockdale County. The Development Authority owned that property. That building blew up. And then the county, under the old administration, not the new administration, sued the Development Authority. Well, who in the heck were they suing? They were suing themselves. These issues are just unbelievable. No, I think they're probably believable. But it leads back to my opening point earlier. I've listened to over an hour and a half discussion here. If, again, we would have done a potential problem analysis from the get-go, we would not have to be going through all of this I wouldn't call it wasted time, but regenerating and gurgitating all of this information. So again, I would applaud you very much. I appreciate it. But why isn't the city brought into these discussions? I didn't see anything about that information as being one of the entities, and I know that that is also being looked at. So thank you so very much, and as always, I'm here to assist. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just speak to the city issue, just for clarification?
Yes.
So my understanding is that we have another development authority in Putnam, the Downtown Development Authority, that pertains to the city downtown area, very, very tightly defined. And this particular development under the PDA is not within the city limits, and that's why the city wouldn't have been party to it. If it had been in the city limits, then theoretically the city would have been party to it.
Thank you, Richard. Moving along, this is a discussion and possible action to dissolve the Putnam Development Authority. Commissioner Steve Hersey put this on, so Steve, you have the floor. We ought to put a motion on the floor and then discuss it probably. Unless it's strictly for discussion.
Our attorney has prepared a resolution, which is part of the package, I believe. No. Yeah. So the motion would be to authorize the chairman to sign a resolution as provided in the package. And basically, apart from the recitals, the resolution is to request that our local legislative delegation introduce local legislation to reverse the creation of the current PDA. So the motion, if you will, is to authorize the chairman to sign the resolution as presented in the package.
Can we page down?
It's just signature pages after that first page, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to see the first page. What?
Yeah, the whereas.
I know there's a long process involved in that.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to shorten the motion so that we can go on to discussion.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Roll this down, please. A resolution to have this resolution requesting the introduction of a local law to repeal the constitutional amendment creating the Putnam County Development Authority. And that is your motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Now we can go to discussion. Commissioner Hersey, this was your motion, so you have the floor.
Well, as the resolution specifies, the current Putnam Development Authority is a, quote, constitutional authority. It was created in 1968 before the new Constitution, Georgia's new Constitution was introduced and carried forward in the new Constitution. And it is still a constitutional authority. We have just, in regard to the CPACE discussion, discovered that constitutional authorities are not able to participate in the CPACE program, and so it is only the Lake Oconee Area Development Authority, which is created after the new Constitution as a statutory authority, can participate in that program. So what this amounts to basically is a multi-step process in which the current PDA would be replaced by a statutory PDA. The multi-steps are, first, that we have to have local legislation calling for a referendum, and then the referendum, that is a vote of the public, is to abolish or remove that constitutional amendment that provides it, and then we can form a new statutory development authority. There are two advantages, as far as I'm concerned, of that new statutory authority. Number one, it is a 7-member authority rather than a 5-member authority, so it has a broader scope, if you will. And one of those members can be a member of this board. That is, we can have a commissioner on that authority. And that will, I think, provide a much preferred and better linkage between this board and the development authority. There has been a lot of controversy over the way in which the agreement between the current PDA and the Harmony Road Georgia LLC was finalized and agreed to by the PDA in what may, I'm hesitating to say, a violation of the Open Meetings Act, but fairly close to that. But if we had a member of the board, of this board on that, I think the transparency would be much improved, as well as, to the extent that a member of the Development Authority can divulge what is going on, can keep us up to date so that we don't get caught unawares and have to read about it in the newspaper. Anyway, as I said, it's a multi-step process for doing this, for making this transition. The other reason for making the transition is I attended yesterday a meeting of the Lake Oconee Area Development Authority, and it struck me as if there is a project coming through the CPACE program, and I don't know that will occur or not, but if it occurs in Putnam County, then Greene County members have to approve it. On the other hand, if there's a project that's going on in Greene County, Putnam County members that have to, and yet the responsibility lies with one county or the other, depending upon where that project is going on. And it just seemed to me that again, it would simplify matters if we had a statutory authority which could possibly become involved in the CPACE program, but would be responsive to Putnam County and not necessarily have to coordinate with Greene County. So for these two reasons, I say, and the facts that some of the members of the public have brought up, that there are a lot of questions about how the current PDA is operating. And at the moment, there is no legal way that this board can change any of the way that PDA operates, except for whenever an appointment comes up. This board does get to appoint a replacement member if we decide to do so. But apart from actually charging a criminal offense or something, this board has no, authority with regard to the PDA. It would be true of a statutory one as well, but at least we would be able to be linked to it through a possible member of the county commission being a member of that PDA. So all I can say is that I truly believe that we would be better off to have a statutory PDA, or it would be a PDA, a statutory development authority rather than a constitutional one, and perhaps bring things into at least the 20th century, if not the 21st century. Thank you.
Other discussion? Commissioner Garrett.
So I can certainly see some of those, some benefits pertaining to a statutory authority versus constitutional. But I think another issue I want to raise is, going back to what I said earlier, we've ended up in a very bad place, and I worry that moving to this resolution as our next step is raising the temperature even more. It's creating division more. It's adding to the problem. Now, there may come a time if we feel like we're just completely at odds between the commissioners and the PDA, or the school board and the PDA. But in my due diligence over these months, I've spent a lot of time talking to the PDA, and again, I don't think that they're up to no good and somehow just running rogue. There are some aspects I would like to see improved, but I worry that if we go for this nuclear option, then we're kind of adding to the problem. So what I would like to propose as an alternative motion before we go down this road, if we have to, is I would move that we the commissioners and the school board, well, I can't commit the school board and I can't commit the PDA, but at least we the commissioners ask the PDA to sit down and see if we can work through some of these issues going forward, about meeting access, about ensuring that we have commissioner presence at meetings, executive session versus not executive session, availability of minutes, clarifying contracts, and ultimately this goal of consensus. Even if the law doesn't require us to agree to what is in effect a tax abatement, I still think the PDA should, and I would like to think would, and originally did, want to seek consensus. They wanted the school board to sign up, they wanted the commissioners to sign up, and I think that's the way it should be done. I don't think it's healthy for a county to be so divided along these lines, whether a project is great or not. There is some rationale for keeping business decisions away from politicians like us. But there's also risks in doing that because the accountability is weak. And therefore, some spirit of consensus, putting aside what the law requires, I think has been conspicuous by its absence through this process. But I would like to see whether we could, through this alternative motion, arrive at some common ground here, get out of this adversarial situation, because we're just raising the stakes here. Maybe that's what we have to do. Maybe we'll get there. But I would like to see us extend a bit of goodwill, and so my motion would be...
I want you to clarify the motion because we went into discussion,
Yes.
so let's get a second.
Well, my alternative motion would be...
Are you going to amend?
It's not amending, it's, well, all right, let's do that. Let's do
But
that.
the original motion is simply to authorize the chairman to sign this resolution.
Okay, let's vote on
I
that.
don't know how
No,
it can be.
do you want to, hold on, let's have the
I
attorney.
wasn't amending it.
Let's have the attorney.
Well, y'all have got pretty liberal rules on amending motions, or at least practice, but I think Commissioner Hersey's point would be, I know it would help Lynn if y'all take up this motion, and then you can make, when you have an agenda item, you can make multiple motions, so.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to
Probably,
amend it.
right, probably easier to take this one up
So
first.
remove your amendment now, and we'll vote.
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
propose an amendment. I proposed an alternative, but let's
Okay, you'll have
vote on
that.
the existing motion on the floor.
You'll have that opportunity. Is there any discussion, further discussion on the resolution?
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So, I agree with District Two Commissioner. I don't think that the nuclear option is the best way to go at this point. There are a lot of questions that I have, especially since I've gotten some information today. And there are a lot of answers that I expect to get, whether we get them or not. It's quite concerning to me on some things that I've learned even this morning. And I think we probably need to get our ducks in a row before we press the nuke button. I just have a lot more questions before I can go forward with that.
Other discussion? Commissioner Hersey.
I would just like to comment on the notion that we are somehow going to shake hands and be kumbaya here. The first version of this agreement that was brought to the board for consent and approval, and I use those words exactly as they were in the agreement, was turned down. Well, it was brought back, and we had three, and it was turned down again, and we had three town halls. Why didn't the PDA take the hint? Why did they bring it up again on the 14th of October of this year and ask the court to validate the bond issue? I mean, was that, and I might add that authorization or approval of that agreement was not on the agenda of the PDA for the meeting in which they did approve it, all right? So nobody knew about it, and in fact didn't know about it until it was pointed out by a constituent to me that there was a notice in the legal pages of the Messenger that there was going to be a bond validation on the 2nd of December. I had no idea that the PDA had actually approved this thing without noticing at least the commission or somebody, or having it posted on their agenda so that people could at least know what they were doing. So all I'm saying is that it may be very difficult to shake hands and be kumbaya with the PDA.
Commissioner McElhaney.
It may be very difficult, but I'm willing to do that. I think that we all are served better if we try to work together and reach compromise versus blowing each other up. I would question whether or not we could introduce. I would certainly like to have someone from the Board of Commissioners on that board, and I would like to question the attorney whether or not we could introduce legislation to actually do that, to add a member without having to disband the whole thing.
I would have to, is the provision that's in the resolution was in the original 1968 provision, and all it speaks to is dissolution. So I don't believe there's anything else in the local act that would prohibit amendment to the act itself that created differences. That is, I know this is the second time I had to tell you all this, that is a more difficult question. I don't want to give you the definitive answer that you can, but based on my reading and initial interpretation, you could do that. You can change the form. Again, that requires the legislator to do that.
Just like this, requires the legislator to do that.
Right. The ability to take the Putnam County Development Authority away to dissolve it, it's in the local act. That's what is up there. I don't believe there's a provision that talks about amendment, so I would assume that you can make that amendment just by the legislator adding terms or changing the form.
Okay. I'd be
But I
interested in seeing something like
can
that.
look at that and give you all that opinion.
Please.
So legally, you could add 2 members, one being a commissioner? I mean, that was one of the things you brought was 7-member board.
I don't want to tell you definitively. My inclination is that you would be allowed to amend the local act that created it, but I'll confirm that. And if so, whatever commissioners want to put it in form of resolution, we can do that.
Very good. Okay.
But let me remind this board that it would still be a constitutional authority and not a statutory authority, and therefore could not participate in the CPACE program.
Other comments? I think we're at the point of voting. We'll call for the question, and that is to authorize the chairman to sign Commissioner Hersey's resolution. Mine didn't take. I'm sorry? Oh, I don't, okay. I don't vote because it takes 2 affirmatives. Okay, so I do not vote. The motion fails.
Please vote.
Well, my machine ain't one. I don't have to vote, so I won't vote. The motion fails. Now then, I'll entertain your motion.
Mr. Chairman, my motion is that the Board of Commissioners seek a meeting with the PDA in the coming weeks, latest in January, to air all of these concerns and see whether there are accommodations that can be made, understandings, compromises, whatever it is. I know it's not a succinct motion, but you get the spirit of the first part was the motion. I'm just saying the spirit is to try and see if we can figure this out as fellow residents of Putnam County that in theory have the best interest of Putnam County at heart, and let's exhaust those avenues before we do anything more drastic. But
You know, set some timing?
yes, given the time of year, I'd say, and people's travel schedules, let's say a meeting in January between the commissioners and the members of the PDA board.
So your motion is to have a meeting between the PDA and the commissioners in the month of January.
January 2026, yes.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion. Now you can go into
Sorry,
more detail.
yes. Well, again, I think it's just to see. I've talked to all sides on this question. I think there's goodwill on all sides. I don't think anyone has some ulterior motive. I think it's just habits and personalities and lack of dialogue and people grandstanding on both sides. And I don't think that's a productive environment. And I'd like to think that as grown adults, we could do a bit better than where we are now. We haven't had this kind of sit down. All we've had is documents flying around and court hearings and social media and accusations. And I'm not blaming anyone. All of that's appropriate. But what we haven't done, as this problem's been building, is say, look, let's have some face-to-face dialogue here and really trying to figure this out. I know there'll be issues of quorums and who's allowed in the room and public. You know, I have no objection to all this being in public as long as it results in a full and frank discussion. But I think that's what's missing. We haven't attempted it. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know. But I think we owe it to each other as hopefully reasonable people to take that step before we raise the stakes.
Other comments?
Yes.
Commissioner McElhaney.
Could not agree with the district to Commissioner Moore. I think we need to sit down and try to figure this thing out before we get everything to the nth degree heated up and people go crazy. And let me just say I appreciate the comments that have been made. Aaron, I appreciate your information. I certainly want to look at that a little bit deeper, but I think it deserves a bit more study and questions being answered before we go down the road. So I agree with Commissioner Garrett. I think we certainly need to try that first.
Commissioner Hershey, do you want to say something?
Just strikes me that a meeting between commissioners and the PDA would require the PDA's consent.
And we can ask them for the consent, of course. We would do that. I want to make a comment on this. I served on the PDA for 8 years, or maybe a little longer, and I don't know that we had any problems. But the commissioners actually appoint every member of that board, and we need to get good candidates for that. It's like every committee and board we have, we seem like we struggle to get somebody to volunteer or to go on that. And we have qualified people in this community, and it's a matter of getting them activated. So in our discussions, we need to talk about getting good, sound members. And that's how we can change, is the members we put on. And to some degree, we control some finances at least. So I'll make that comment. Other comments? If not, I'll call for the question and we'll vote. We have to vote verbally on this. And we'll start with District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
No.
And the commissioner will vote aye, and the motion will pass. We will contact the PDA to try to set up a meeting in January, and the latter part of January, because we're all traveling early part of January. Moving along, I believe that we're moving to item number 14, and that is county manager's report.
No report, sir.
Next is the county attorney's report.
No report.
District 1?
No report, sir.
District 2?
Just wanted to say how much I appreciate the folks who organized the last minute food drive that I highlighted at the last meeting. Went very well. All the food, we had lots and lots of food donated left and right in the community. We had lots of volunteers. We had hundreds of residents come out, and it's just great to see that example of grassroots community initiative reacting to unexpected circumstances. Hopefully we won't see any more shutdowns and any more threats to benefits, but if we do, we know we have that in our back pocket. So thanks to those folks, Kim Farley, Kim Smith, Aaron Keating, and others who organized that. Thank you.
Commissioner 3? I'd like to say thank you to all those people who attended our Christmas tree lighting last night. I estimate, and it was kind of cold and a little rainy, but we had about 150 to 200 people there, and all the children and the Putnam County choral group sang, and we lit the great tree. So thank all of you that came out, and I think that was just a great time. And I'll remind you to continue to remember that Jesus is the reason for the season. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take electronic vote. Districts 1, 2, and 3 vote aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank everybody for coming.